Grusch is being muzzled. He is being prevented from speaking. Meanwhile, Steven Spielberg is releasing a 4-part documentary series on UFOs and much more. It's time for another UFO news roundup. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me guys know what you think in the comments below. Okay, breaking news. Steven Spielberg production company will launch a 4-part documentary on UAPs and UFOs in September on Netflix. It comes as explosive new revelations emerge from military whistleblowers of alien encounters, UFOs, and clandestine Pentagon programs, as well as coverage from major news sources which have breathed a fresh urgency into a topic that for decades has been relegated to the realm of conspiracy. Well, it's been relegated to the realm of conspiracy by a conspiracy, but absolutely, and this is awesome. I love it. Bring it on, Steven Spielberg. I can't wait to see what he has in store for us. I imagine he's going to talk about the recent stuff, right? From A-Tip to David Grusch, we're going to get Steven Spielberg's take on all of this crazy UFO semi-disclosure or even full-on disclosure that seems to be happening. So get your popcorn ready for September. It's going to be juicy. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbell is saying that David Grusch is being muzzled.
We all want to know, is what he says true? But in order to have that opportunity, he can't be muzzled. I will tell you this right now. He's been effectively muzzled for this coming week. He's muzzled. And he's muzzled. I can't explain why, and you know why, but I can't explain why. But they have, and who are they? So people invested in not having him talk. Because look, all this is nonsense, right? If it was nonsense, would you have all of this reprisal going on? So they've effectively muzzled him for this week. We'll give it a week. It's not going to last. It is not going to last. Now,
all right, it's not going to last, so we have that to look forward to. And if David Grusch is being muzzled, it sounds like he has something to say. And one would presume that maybe it's something we have not heard before. So I can't wait for him to be allowed to speak, whatever restrictions are being put on him. I hope they dissolve and we can hear what the man has to say, because I am all ears, guys. But who's muzzling? Jeremy Corbell didn't say. Is it, Ron Moultrie and Sean Kirkpatrick? Is it the typical people that we know about? Is it some other forces, the Collins elite? Who exactly is perpetuating this particular stage of the cover-up? Who is trying to silence David Grusch? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In other David Grusch news, it looks like the IG investigation has reached a new stage. Evaluation of the DoD's actions regarding unidentified anomalous phenomena. The Department of Defense Office of Inspector General released a classified report on its evaluation of the DoD's actions regarding UAP. At a later date, the DoD IG will release an unclassified overview on how the DoD military services, defense agencies, and military department counterintelligence organizations took intelligence, counterintelligence, and force protection actions to detect, report, collect, analyze, and identify UAP. So David Grusch, along with Lou Elizondo, have engaged the IG into getting into the topic of UAP, apparently. And now, well, we're going to see what that leads to. But it looks like that report is going forward. A couple of days ago, I talked about how the beings say sometimes that human bodies are containers, apparently for souls, and that they, according to Tom DeLonge and others, engage in soul transfer or consciousness transfer. And there are even experiencers who have reported this. And there was a recent tweet by Jacques Keel that reminded me of something that Whitley Strieber said. And we'll read that in just a second, where he addresses this concern. And I've read this book, A New World, by Whitley, a really great book. I recommend checking it out. I want to say this is the book that he wrote with his late wife. That is the implant that he was given by the beings enable him to communicate from beyond the grave according to Whitley, with his late wife Anne. And together they wrote a book. And it's an amazing book. I think that it is a new world, and I highly recommend it, whether you take every word he says literally or not. It's a beautiful book with some really wonderful observations and thoughts from a lifetime, or maybe not a lifetime experiencer, but certainly from a certain point on, he's had regular, fairly deep experiences. And so here we go. My observation of the visitors suggests to me that they exist primarily in a non-physical state, says Whitley. Not that they don't have physical bodies, they do, but they are not bound to them in the same way we are. This is why something like the Roswell donation could include bodies. They were not people, but containers that people used. It isn't that the soul level is not also material, though. It is, but in a way we cannot yet detect and measure. So really intriguing food for thought there. I am not sure about the Roswell donation. Many people think that UFO crashes are actually a gift from the beings so that we can actually understand their technology, reverse engineer it, and have our own similar technology. It is their way, according to many, of elevating us and of giving us a boost. I don't subscribe to that theory. I don't see them as gifts. My mind is open to that, absolutely, but I don't see the evidence for that. The beings themselves aren't saying that. What evidence I have seen, people that are able to make mental contact with the beings during these crashes. For example, Roswell, there's remote viewers that have been able to connect with these beings. And what they encounter are beings that are full of fear. They are, not, lovingly gifting their technology. They have been involved in a crash and they're dying and they're scared. Maybe they're being hunted, executed even in some cases, or taken prisoner. They're not happy. So I for that main reason, I don't believe these are gifts. But otherwise, I take its point very well that these beings are not physical in the way that we think of physical. Now, some of them are. Some of these beings are 3D beings from our 3D reality. Just guys from a different planet that are a little bit more further along the path than we are technologically. But a lot of these beings seem to come from somewhere else entirely. That is what many, many experiencers report. When they are being taken, they are taken somewhere outside of space and time. But not everybody that gets taken by the beings. Sometimes, at least in the past, people have been taken by the government acting alone, seemingly. Now, many abductees, when they are taken by the beings working alongside humans, indicating an involvement between the control group and the beings, along with other evidence to support that. But some of them are exclusively taken by humans for apparently human purposes. And here is one of them. So this is from a book by Jacques Vallée. Barbara knows, and Barbara is a former White House policy analyst, by the way. Not somebody that's a kook. Barbara knows another woman who found out under professional therapy that she had not been abducted to a UFO at all. Instead, she had been taken to a house in San Francisco where her supposedly alien abductors also turned out to be humans. Over dinner at the beach home of Barbara Honegger, we swapped information on real and fake UFOs she learned about during her days at the White House, including correlations between actual but covert projects and the wild claims of zealots like Bill Cooper and John Lear. And I love John Lear. He's a little nutty, but I love him. Rest in peace, John. One of the alien projects is called Snowbird, a cover for a real project called Red Light. In Snowbird, the government reportedly built a saucer and flew it as a disinformation drone for the release of the American hostages in Iran during the failed attempt to rescue organized by Jimmy Carter. So there's one example of a distinct reason why they built their own fake flying saucer. Now, why do they engage in abductions, or at least why have they engaged in abductions in the past? Is that some sort of MK Ultra sort of experiment in mental manipulation, or possibly public manipulation? What were those test runs for future projects? It's unclear as of yet why the government has engaged in these fake abductions. Are those abductions in any way related to the control group? Is it the control group carrying out those fake abductions for reasons of their own, or are those abductions carried out by an entirely different entity within the government? I don't know, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comments below. Speaking of UFOs and UFO craziness, here we have a really interesting encounter from 1989 in Russia. On this night, witnesses north of Zarostrovka, Perm, Russia, watched several disc-shaped objects engaged in what looked like an aerial battle or dogfight with another gold-colored disc. After several explosions, the electrical power in Zarostrovka went off. The gold-colored disc was seen crashing into a swamp. Several military personnel tried to get near the crash site, but the isolated location seemed impossible to access. The zone was declared off limits by the local military. Several family members living nearby were displaced, and a barbed wire fence was installed in the area. Aircraft flying over the area afterwards reported equipment malfunctions and were diverted to other flight paths. The downed object was described as a mushroom-shaped with a greenish gold dome and a matte black rim with a narrow base. And this is coming from Albert Rosales, Humanoid Contact Database, citing F. Bukharin. So there's one more example of UFOs engaging with each other. Going back centuries, UFOs often engage with each other, seemingly war amongst different races of beings, or at least beings with different agendas. There's stories going back hundreds of years, from Europe, and I'm sure y'all are all familiar with that sort of thing. I've covered some of those recently. So what does this mean? What are they fighting over? Is it earthly resources like natural gas and water? Are they fighting over us? Is that a possibility, since they are so heavily engaged with humanity? According to the best available information we have on alien abductions and how prevalent they are and how widespread they are, they do seem to be heavily invested in humanity. Many people think they even created us, that we may be some sort of experiment or project of theirs. So could they be fighting over us, or are they fighting over Earth? Do they live here just out of our own senses? We can't perceive them, but they are here and they have always been here. Why do you guys think they are fighting? Does that have anything to do with the modern reports of U.S. military and other militaries firing upon UFOs? Are we continuing some age-long struggle between different races or agendas? Because according to the research that I've shared with you guys, it does strongly appear like the beings are working with a control group, and they may be directing these shoot-downs of opposing alien groups or agendas. I keep saying agendas because it could be, one race has multiple factions and multiple agendas. We've heard of the rogue Greys a lot. There seem to be the good Greys and the bad Greys, or at least the impartial Greys and the Greys that are more selfishly motivated. But it looks like up until the present era, up until the 80s, UFOs were still, and maybe still are, engaged in fighting each other. Meanwhile, UFO researcher Scott Brown says that missing MH-370 is, the anomalous nature of it, those videos being shared, are all a hoax. Photo 1, he says, a frame from the video alleged to be missing flight MH-370 being swarmed by UFOs, Photo 2, a cold bottle of water that I shot a photo of using a fake thermal app. This type of app simulates thermal imaging, but in actuality amplifies light and does not pick up heat signatures. This fake thermal imaging was used on the footage of the plane. Photo 3, real thermal imaging such as the picture of this deer amplify objects by their heat signature, not by how much light is seen as in the first two images. This conclusion makes this video highly suspicious because this is not actual thermal camera footage. I'm not enough of a camera expert to know what to make of this analysis, so I'll let you guys that have more knowledge about that clue me in and others in as to your own thoughts on that. My mind is still very much open as to MH-370. I've definitely seen some compelling evidence to suggest that maybe it was truly anomalous, but my gut instinct is still that it's probably a hoax. And if it is a hoax, shame on those hoaxers. I mean, really, dudes, that's not cool. But then I remember the documentary that was made about the plane crash and the family members receiving phone calls from their departed who were either missing or deceased. And I wonder, that coupled with the supposed satellite imagery and thermal imagery really has me wondering, what did happen to missing flight MH370? Meanwhile, here's a wonderful clip from Custodian File, aka the awesome Dr. Robert Shipe. And let's just check it out because this is awesome. This is of the Blue Angels pilot exhibiting his maneuvers when a strange black UAP whizzed by on his jet. So let's check it out. This is from 2014, the Blue Angels, when this pilot's flying along. Those apparently are boats, Robert says. And then you get this crazy UFO. What is that thing? Robert thinks it looks more like a cube, and it may be one of those crazy cube UFOs. I'm not playing the sound because there's some music in it. I don't want to get a copyright claim. But yeah, really great footage. Just amazingly clear, wonderful footage of some crazy object. What do you think, guys? Is that one of the cubes? Is that some other crazy, weird-looking UFO? I don't know, but it's a beautiful footage. It truly is. So thank you, Dr. Shipe, for this awesome footage. Last but not least, let's listen to some Bigfoots. On the recent episode of Coast to Coast, there was an analyst who has done a lot of research into the language of Sasquatch from old audio samples of what appears to be Sasquatch speaking. And this guy is an expert in detecting fakes and frauds and also analyzing the use of language. And he has determined this is authentic language, that these Sasquatch are, not just grunting and groaning as they might at first appear, but are in fact utilizing the basics of language or even sophisticated language. Some say they're smarter than we are. I don't know, but let's give it a listen.
He doesn't sound happy, Scott, does he?
No, he really doesn't. That is a ticked off Bigfoot. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that lecture if that's what it was. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but Bigfoot was not in a good mood. And those clips, those audio clips are from the 70s, and there's several of them. And I recommend you going to check out the recent episode of Coast to Coast. Great episode. I love Bigfoot. I love all things Bigfoot. I don't understand Bigfoot. The best research that I've seen suggests that there's a bunch of different kinds of Bigfoot. And varying in intelligence levels, interestingly. You would think that if it was one race, they would be fairly uniform in their intelligence levels. But apparently some are fairly barbaric and animalistic, and some of them are way smarter and more sophisticated than we are. In any case, they all seem to be able to disappear at will and to go somewhere else. either outside of our senses or into another realm entirely. Who knows, maybe into a parallel Earth or an alternate dimension. I don't know, but I find Bigfoot very fascinating. I was really intrigued by the David Paulides information where he got a sample of Bigfoot DNA and he had a crime lab analyze it. Old police officer David Paulides, and they found out that it was half human, indicating that Bigfoot may be some sort of hybrid created by the beings. I don't know, guys, but let me know your Bigfoot theories in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this UFO news roundup, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. And if you could share this video on social media, that would be enormously helpful. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, there's a PayPal button below. A one-time donation would be wonderful. If you wanted to become a channel member, that'd be great too, because channel members are rock stars. Thank you guys so much. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.